Hi, ArcfieldWeather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Wednesday morning, December 7th. And before we get into the weather situation across the U.S. and across the world as well, want to mention I do have an interesting story posted on the homepage of the ArcfieldWeather.com website regarding the role of the weather on December 7th, 1941. Quite an interesting story, and there's kind of a little known indirect benefit of the weather that actually may have saved many lives on that fateful day. So here it is right here. If you go to the home page right now of arcfieldweather.com, and we have all kinds of historic events and the role of the weather in historic events. A full page devoted on historic events relating to the weather on the arcfieldweather.com website. Well, I wanted to first start off with a look at Europe, actually, because cold air has certainly arrived in Europe, at least the northern half of Europe, Scandinavian countries, UK, all the way down to Central European countries of France, Germany, Poland. Very cold weather pattern has begun in that part of the northern hemisphere, and sometimes that's a foreshadow of events to come in the U.S. Indeed, it looks like colder air will arrive in the central and eastern U.S., but certainly delayed from what we thought about a week ago, perhaps later next week going into the following week in the month of December. But first, it arrives typically this time of the year in the European continent, and we'll just walk through the 850 millibar temperature anomalies over the next few days across Europe. This is using the ensemble run of the European model from last night, and again below normal temperatures already extending from UK across Scandinavian countries and all the way down into France, Germany, and Poland right now. Let's move forward here, and we'll see this is a pretty persistent pattern here over the next few days. Here we are 48 hours forward here. Now notice southern part of Europe, Italy and Greece above normal, but certainly the northern half colder than normal, and we go deeper into the time frame here into the upcoming weekend, and that cold tends to spread a little bit to the south, certainly the Scandinavian countries to UK in for a cold spell here, and this is all the way now into the early part of next week. This is actually the Tuesday morning forecast map, again in the 850 millibar temperature anomalies from last night's ensemble run of the European model. Well, let's stick with the ensemble run of the European model from last night and skip back over to North America here. Of course, the U.S. and Canada here. We have a lot of high latitude blocking right now across Greenland, northeastern part of Canada. Mild today along the eastern seaboard. May hit 60 degrees this afternoon in D.C., for example. Now, let's move forward. We're looking at the 500 millibar height anomaly forecast maps, again using the 0Z run of the ensemble version of the Euro. And here we have ridging still in place here across the eastern half of the nation going into the end of the work week. Notice here a little wave here at 500 millibars, and it does certainly become an active weather pattern beginning this weekend. There's a system to deal with in the northeastern part of the nation Friday and Saturday, another one Sunday into Monday, and then another one perhaps Tuesday into Wednesday of next week. And that midweek system next week could certainly also feature a severe weather outbreak across parts of the central U.S. The Central Plains, for example, could have severe weather associated with the midweek next week, a week away, in what is becoming an active weather pattern. Now, let's continue to move forward here, and we've talked about this deep upper level trough over the Atlantic Ocean in a few days, and that'll try to retrograde back to the west. Meanwhile, another trough shows up in the western part of the U.S. And here we are now into the early part of next week. Still have strong high latitude blocking signals showing up here over northeastern part of Canada, the Hudson Bay region of Canada, all the way up into Greenland. This is now early next week. Let's keep moving forward. Again, these troughs tend to try to come together here across the nation here, and this is now going a week from today into the middle part of next week, and we have very strong upper level low on most of the forecast models. They all tend to agree with this over the central part of the nation. And again, this could lead to a severe weather outbreak across the Central Plains, maybe the Mississippi Valley region. We're talking about Wednesday of next week. Still, a lot of high latitude blocking here showing up a week from now in the ensemble run of the Euro from last night. Let's keep moving forward. This system slides to the east by the later part of next week, and here we have kind of a coming together of these upper level troughs over the Atlantic Ocean, over the eastern part of the nation and the western part of the nation, with high latitude blocking still remaining across the Hudson Bay region of Canada up to Greenland. This is now the end of next week. So again, the colder air looks like it will come in, but maybe it delayed a week or so from what we thought a week ago, towards the middle latter part of next week, maybe following that midweek strong frontal system that again could produce some severe weather in the heartland of the U.S. Well, earlier we looked at the 850 millibar temperature anomalies across Europe, and again the northern half of the European continent getting quite cold, staying cold for the next several days. Let's take a look now across North America. Very mild conditions right now across much of the eastern part of the nation. Again, afternoon highs 55 to 60 degrees later today in D.C., Philadelphia, New York City. There are cold air masses around, and here's a substantially colder than normal air mass up across the northern plains into the central part of Canada. Now, let's move forward here. Again, we're using the ensemble run of the European model. We have one system that we'll have to watch for the Friday-Saturday time frame right along the northeastern U.S. coastline. Could be some rain, could be some snow in parts of the northeast U.S. the end of the week going into the early part of the weekend. Still kind of overall a milder than normal pattern, however. Then we go into next week, and again we have a system to deal with actually at the end of the week, and this is the Saturday evening forecast map. And let's move into Sunday. Right here there will be another system to deal with Sunday, Monday time frame along the northeastern coastline. Could be enough cold air around for some snow. Again, an active weather pattern is indeed setting up here. We'll have one system to deal with along the mid-Atlantic northeast coastline Friday into Saturday, another one right in this time frame Sunday into Monday, and then we have a strong system. We saw that deep upper level low over the middle of the nation by the middle part of next week, and here we have a strong front showing up here with respect to the 850 millibar temperature anomalies by Tuesday of next week. And here we go right into a week from right now, the middle of next week, December 14th. There'll be a strong front, strong surface low pressure, maybe even enough warm and humid air on the front side to cause a severe weather outbreak the middle part of next week. That whole system slides into the east, and that may be the turning point with the colder air. Here we are now a week from Friday. This is the end of next week, December 16th. Again, the ensemble run of the European model consistently pushing cold air in for the second half of the month of December across the much of the nation by this time. This is by the end of next week. Let's keep moving forward here, and it pretty much sticks around as we go into Christmas week. Here we are now all the way out to December 20th, still below normal temperatures, virtually extending from coast to coast at this time, and still a reflection of that negative NAO almost 2 weeks from now. This is a warmer than normal temperatures, 850 millibars, not atypical when you have higher heights than normal. And again, that's associated with a negative NAO type of pattern here. This is, again, almost 2 weeks away from right now. We're talking around December 20th or so. Well, let's go to the Canadian model now and take a look at this active weather pattern. We're looking at the surface weather maps with radar reflectivities over the next several days. Here we begin the day on Wednesday. Some patchy fog, drizzle around the mid-Atlantic region, maybe a shower or two, kind of a weak low pressure area pushing through the area. And it brings in a little bit cooler air for Thursday. Thursday should see certainly the return of some sunshine to the mid-Atlantic region, the northeast U.S., but with high pressure to the north. It certainly will turn a little bit cooler tomorrow, but nothing outrageous for this time of the year. Then we have system number 1 to deal with Friday into Saturday. Most models tend to have this weakening by the time it reaches the Mid-Atlantic coastline here. Again, this is Friday, late Friday into Saturday. This particular model kind of wipes out all the precipitation. Not entirely sold on that yet. There may be a bit of rain or snow later Friday night into early Saturday with enough cold air around there. And again, there can be a bit of snow mixed into this. Again, late Friday night, early Saturday, not that big of a deal. But then we have another system right on its heels. And here we go. By the time we get to Sunday into Monday, there may be enough colder air around for some accumulating snow with this system. Northern half, let's say, of the Mid-Atlantic region. And here we are at the Sunday morning forecast map. So again, a weakening system Friday into Saturday. Another system that's a stronger system probably Sunday into Monday. And we'll have to watch for enough cold air that there could even be some accumulating snow. By the way, let me back up a little bit. Notice here, as of Sunday morning, we have the low pressure area over the southwestern part of Pennsylvania. Then we move forward a little bit. Look at it jump south and east. That's all a reflection of kind of that blocking pattern to the north over the Hudson Bay region of Canada. When you have a negative NAO, a strong negative NAO, and blocking way up across Canada, that is a possible outcome, that the low pressure areas head into the Ohio Valley and then kind of jump to the south and east. And again, this is now the Sunday afternoon forecast map. It then intensifies here. Could throw some accumulating snow into the interior part of the northern Mid-Atlantic, the northeast U.S. We're talking Sunday night, Monday time frame. Then we move forward here. A very impressive system, by the way, at this particular time, late Sunday night into early Monday on the Canadian model here. And again, it doesn't go far to the north and east because of that block that's set up over Canada, Greenland, Iceland, and a very impressive storm system by this time on the Canadian model. Not all the models agree with this, but certainly something we'll focus in on over the next few days. Again, this is the Monday morning forecast map. Now notice at this time, isobars are suggesting a southerly flow of air right here from the southern plains into the northern plains ahead of that next low. And indeed, that'll kind of pump things up for the possibility of a severe weather outbreak in the central part of the nation next Tuesday going into Wednesday. A lot of cold air to the north and west, and a very strong system here, it looks like, by the middle part of next week. Later Tuesday night into Wednesday, watch out. Mississippi Valley region, maybe some severe weather to deal with and accumulating snow on the northern and western side. This slides into the east, and notice here by the middle of next week, this is next Wednesday now, there may be enough cold air around for some snow, at least at the onset of this system by the middle part of next week. We'll move a little bit ahead and some ice mixed in and maybe a change over to rain. That system too tends to intensify as it reaches the eastern U.S. coastline. Colder air pours in behind it, and that may become the more sustained cold air we've been talking about. Delayed, but ultimately looks like it won't be denied. It looks like it may arrive, the more sustained cold air, latter part of next week. Here we are all the way out to Friday of next week, and this is a much cooler than normal pattern here for much of the nation by the end of next week. So cold air has arrived in Europe. It's delayed for its onslaught into the U.S. It looks like maybe later next week we finally get into a more sustained cold air pattern, a colder than normal pattern across the central and eastern U.S. The active weather pattern certainly begins this week, and again, a system to watch out for along the mid-Atlantic, northeast U.S. coastline Friday into Saturday. More important system Sunday into Monday, and then finally a third system Tuesday into Wednesday of next week, and that may have some severe weather to deal with in the middle part of the nation, middle part of next week. That's it for now. For ArcfieldWeather.com, I'm meteorologist Paul Dorian.